I happen to live in some of the most beautiful country in this part of the world. I do everything that I do in this beautiful area of Wyoming. I've seen more wildlife earlier in my years, before things changed many years ago when the grizzly bear was put on the endangered species list. This was an orchestrated situation brought on pretty much entirely by Yellowstone National Park rangers shooting hundreds of grizzlies, bringing the numbers down considerably, which brought listing of this bear as endangered. Previous, there was no endangerment to this bear. Had a lot of bear. Over these last 40-some years, there's been an awful lot of bear grizzlies that have been born and have populated this part of the country. And there's probably the biggest misinformation handed out here from every entity about the numbers of grizzly bears. They talk about these numbers. I've seen documented information. I've read documented information on studies of the bear. I live right here in grizzly country. This is grizzly habitat right where our home is. They don't cause any trouble around here, at least they haven't. But the fact of the matter is, we've got somewhere between 4 and 5 times as many grizzlies as what they want to say that we have. And the reason that I say this is because there were studies that have been done, been documented in various publications. One of them being National Geographic. Studies done in various parts of the area here, Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, on numbers of bears. And it came up with numbers from these studies that about 4 to 5 times larger, than what we're being told that we have. And these things come out, and then they almost always tone down these numbers. Somebody tones down these numbers. If we're going to come up with these numbers, let's be honest with each other. Let's quit lying, deceiving everybody. And in this aspect of this grizzly, when they were delisted, this was about the taking of 18 million acres of our federal grounds, basically to control and keep people off of our federal grounds. In short, socialistic management of people. And we got along reasonably well with this grizzly situation until the past 15 years. The numbers have just exploded so, and these bear have wandered into areas that, they shouldn't be in, right in and around our homes, all times of the year when they're out of their winter dens. And that's the other aspect. Bears used to spend about 6 months in their den, but it's pretty rare for them to be in there more than about 2.5 or 3 months in this part of the country anymore, because there's so many of these bear, and there's not enough food to go around. And when their system tells them that they need to wake up and go out and cruise the country and try to find something to eat, they're out. But anyway, my focus here, my purpose, is to show you what's happening. This is a serious situation. The bear was delisted, then it's been put back on the list. There's no logical reason. They have to be hunted. These animals have to be hunted. And we have to have a season without having our hands tied, without telling us exactly where we got to be, what we've got to do, and everything else to be able to hunt these bear. And I love to see these animals just like I love to see anything else. But there's a point. There's a point when something has to be done, and something must be done to do with this. And we have an area here that encompasses a tremendous amount of country where they've determined acceptable grizzly bear habitat. It goes right out into the cities, here, one thing or another. This is not where these animals belong. They don't belong there at all. And these things are done purposely for socialistic control of people. Then wolves come into the picture. Wolves were brought into this country illegally with illegally appropriated funds. There was never money ever appropriated by Congress for an introduction of a non-native invasive species that's never been here. The Canadian gray wolf, it never was here. It's not a reintroduction, which we've been fed. It's an introduction of something that's never been here. Wyoming, for instance, has laws on the books against, invasive species. This is the largest, most invasive species of anywhere of any animal in the world. They carry some 50 some odd diseases. And these wolves, this is where things really went wrong. This is all tied into socialistic control. I watched our moose being just gobbled up in this part of the country. We had some of the most fantastic Shiras moose living in this part of the country, particular drainages that were 15 miles long that had 30 some odd moose on those drainages. Lucky to have one moose at some point in time in the year on that drainage. These moose have been just absolutely decimated, and when it comes right down to it, this was endorsed. This wolf introduction was endorsed by the Wyoming Game and Fish Department. They sent Game and Fish employee along with some environmentalists north to Canada to bring these wolves in here illegally. And they're supposed to have been held in holding pens and inoculated for diseases, basically a quarantine and whatnot. This was never done. This is a completely illegal introduction of wolves. Now I ask anybody, how do you make a legal precedent out of an illegal introduction of a non-native invasive species? It's not possible. But boy, these people will twist anything in the world around. Over time, since these wolves came here, our hunting opportunities have diminished tremendously. There are historic areas where our elk lived. Our elk lived year-round. Our elk wintered. In a lot of instances, these elk have moved completely, and I mean completely, out of these locales where they've wintered for hundreds of years is the fact of the matter. I understand the migration routes of these animals. I've hunted all this country. I know this country very, very, very well. I know exactly what's happened. And everything's being ignored. There's something that has been put in place that in areas where wildlife are elk, moose, deer, sheep, herds are being preyed upon considerably. There's something in place in Wyoming law that allows these wolves to be taken out. Not once has any wolf been taken out because it's been preying on our wildlife here in Wyoming. Well, what does that tell you, and what does that tell me? It tells me that this thing is being done purposely to take away our freedoms. And this is tied into every aspect of our freedoms. One of the most basic of our freedoms is our private property rights. These bear are on the private property, and they get into trouble in one thing or another, and sometimes something's done by the game department, sometimes it isn't. It shouldn't be going on in the first place. And any bear that wanders onto your private property, I firmly believe that you have a right to take care of the problem yourself. And this is where things really start to stand out here. And this shows you that it's about the taking of our private property. This shows you that it's about the taking of our freedoms. It's the taking away of our hunting, enjoying what we have paid into as conservation-minded people, buying hunting licenses for our entire lifetimes. We've paid into these systems. These game departments are using my dollars and your dollars to take away what you have paid into and are paying into year after year for your whole lifetimes. They're taking it away. And they're absolutely wrong. Absolutely wrong doing what they're doing. We have built this. There wasn't a money tree that was growing here when the Game and Fish started. How do you think it started? It started by selling licenses to individuals, and they're using this money, these monies, to take things away, just like they used our Pittman Robertson's funds money to illegally use that to introduce wolves into this part of the country. So I don't see, in my view, from what I can observe, that there's a worse threat to hunting, to what we enjoy, than our game departments, and most specifically the Wyoming Game and Fish Department. They absolutely do not care. They don't give a damn about you. The only thing they're interested in is their lifelong job, their paycheck, and their retirement, and the perks that go with it. They don't understand. They sit in offices removed from these areas. This valley that I live in has right in the neighborhood of 50 wolves in the valley. We have a quota to be able to take 6 wolves out. Well, that doesn't make any kind of a dent in the wolf population. There's way more than that born every year. It's real obvious to me that this is being done purposely to take away our hunting. I have documented information on the numbers of permits that have been taken away, that have been reduced year after year. When the game department and people started seeing these things happen, the first thing they do, instead of taking care of the real cause, is to take away the hunting opportunities from you and I. They need to control these large carnivorous predators that eat every day of their lives to live. They have to eat to live, and they're being fed our animals that we should be enjoying, whether we're a sightseer and we don't hunt and we photograph, or we're a hunter, or whatever aspect that it is, it's being taken away from everybody. And it isn't just the game department that's tied into this. The Interior Department, the Forest Service, is tied into this. They're part of the socialistic scheme. They're part of the socialistic scheme to control people. I know for an absolute fact, by things that I've observed and things that I've experienced, as soon as hunting season opens and we go into the mountains and we've got our vehicles, our trucks and our horse trailers parked at strategic locations, trailhead, then the country starts being, kind of overrun with these bureaucrats that think that they have to keep an eye on us the whole damn time. When I go to the mountains, to enjoy myself and my freedoms. I don't go to the mountains to run into these people, to have to be harassed and bothered by these people. If I want to see them, I'll stop into the office and see them when I'm in the area. And this is further proof. I've seen them. I've experienced it myself. Asking me who's here or who's there. Well, it isn't my job. It isn't my job to keep track of people. I keep track of myself. But at the same time, it's become very in focus, everything that's going on. And every time that there's kind of a shortage of game and one thing and another, it's always taking away the licenses. And there's a point of no return. When they take these things away, they don't ever bring them back. When freedom is gone, it's gone. It's not going to come back. It is not going to come back with this continued socialistic approach. And this is going on clear across the United States and every locale. I visit with people on the phone about these aspects. It doesn't make a difference whether it's in Georgia or Florida or Maine or Wyoming. It doesn't make a difference where it is. We've got these socialists controlling things. And if there was management, it would stand out. But there's no management. This isn't management of wildlife. This is the control of people and the gradual takeaway of freedoms, and is tied in to gun control just as well as anything else. Because basically, if we don't have anything to hunt, their narrow-minded idea is that we don't need a gun. Oh, I see you've got a gun with you, a game warden says. Well, it isn't any of his damn business that I have a firearm. It's my constitutional right. He's carrying one, but these people think that there's two sets of laws. There's not two sets of laws. We have a constitution, and the constitution applies to them and it applies to me equally. We don't have two different situations going on here, you see. But these people, they keep usurping power that they don't have, and they keep destroying these freedoms. And it's up to you, it's up to everybody else to make a stand, to voice what's going on. We know what's going on. Everybody knows what's going on clear across the country. We've got areas, people that I've visited with, thinking about having seasons for coyotes. Seasons for coyotes? Well, but what a bunch of nonsense. A coyote is the vermin that it is, and it needs to be hunted 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, just like the wolf. The wolf is nothing more than an overgrown coyote that has got an appetite about 3 times larger than a coyote. And they hunt in packs, and they've taken out hundreds of thousands of our wildlife since they've been here, and they continue to. Well, yeah, now you can see. So their answer is, well, we need to take away your hunting permits. But they totally ignore this heavy predation. And this isn't acceptable. There's a lot of aspects here. There's a lot of angles that need to be approached, things that need to be attended to. You need to have a voice. You know, we have a situation here in Wyoming. Our game department is overseen by our governor. Well, our governor's part of it. Of course he's part of it. If the game and fish says it ought to be this, it ought to be that, he rubber stamps everything. We've got a game commission here in Wyoming made up of a number of people. And these people, you know, they do exactly what the game department wants. It's all just a bunch of phoniness, and it's going to continue to be. These people that are on the commission, they're not individuals like myself that see what in the world's going on here, because all those people that are in there are just the perfect models for what the game department wants. and they're appointed. They're appointed to the commission, you see, selected. Well, they're the wrong people, just like it's the wrong people, driving the force from Cheyenne here in the game department. Whether it's the director of the game and fish department, whether it's the head game warden or whoever it is, they're wrong. They're flat damn wrong. You can't continually take away these things. It's just like having a savings account. And you start out with $500,000 in your savings account, and now you're down to $50, This is where it's at. This is about exactly where it's at right now. One of the best ways for me to describe it, to do with our elk and deer hunting opportunities here. And every year we have public meetings, and people can come and, basically participate in these public meetings. All these public meetings are as socialistic controlled meetings for the game department to get exactly what they want. You can't stand up for 15 minutes and talk and try to explain to these people anything. They've taken away our First Amendment speech rights by the very methods of how they use things, by the way that they use things and the way that they control these meetings. 70 people show up at the meeting. They divide that into 10 groups of 7, and they sit around a table and they cuss and discuss things and write down a few ideas of what they think to be done. And statisticians have figured these things out. The likelihood is that irregardless, whatever these people come up with, it's going to be exactly what the game department wants in the first place. So they make you think that you're participating in game management. Hogwash. This is socialistic mind bending. Socialistic mind bending to get exactly what they want. And everybody better set up and take notice. And across the entire country. This is what we've got happening. And I've compared too many situations from too many locales clear across the United States to know or not know what's happening. I know exactly what's happening. And the purpose is they just can't stand it that we're out there, but they sure love the paycheck. They sure love the money that we provide for them, but they use that money and just knock us right in the head with it. That's exactly what they're doing. And how long do you think these freedoms are going to last with this going on all the time? They can't last. Our game's nearly all gone. They've got it exactly where they want it. And we have situations where a large amount of elk, for instance, have migrated into lowland farm or ranch country, and now the ranchers and the farmers are dictating what happens to the wildlife. We've got people charging huge trespass fees on their property to come in and kill that elk. Well, this is nothing but pimping for wildlife. It's an illegal outfitting operation is what it is. And why should these people benefit off of that game and dictate? The game department's created this entire situation. The game department's tied in with all these landowners. The game commission is tied in with all the situation. And the whole thing is just nothing but a great big rat's nest. And the whole aspect of it is wrong. It's not headed down the right path. So, folks, you better get involved and you better have a voice. Use it and see that it makes a difference.